What if I told you that the biggest thing holding your money back is not your salary or the economy, but a quiet set of rules running in the back of your mind? So many hardworking women out there are earning great money, but still live with the underlying constant anxiety about their future. You may think that you need a more complex strategy, but what we actually need to do is change the way that we feel about money so that we can finally feel safe, relaxed, and in control. There are 5 great books that I want to recommend that completely tear down those old money blocks. And if you haven't read them, you might just be making money harder than it needs to be. In this video, I'll show you why your internal money rules shape your bank account way more than a spreadsheet ever will, how simple reading material can actually replace financial stress with a deep sense of security, and 5 life-changing books that help you transition from just getting by to thinking and building wealth like a millionaire. But before we take a look at that list, I want you to think about a car with a security alarm that's just too sensitive. You know the type, right? A leaf falls on the windshield, a gentle breeze blows past, and suddenly the sirens are blaring and the lights are flashing. That's exactly what financial anxiety does to our brains. Because of the old money blocks that we carry around, a normal credit card bill or a minor market dip triggers our internal false alarm. It puts us right into panic mode where we make impulsive decisions or we just avoid looking at our accounts altogether because it makes us feel uncomfortable. Psychologists actually have a term for using books to help heal this. It's called bibliotherapy. Have you ever heard that word before? Neither have I. Bibliotherapy is the practice of using targeted reading to gently retrain your brain's alarm system, dialing down the panic so that you can see your money clearly and build a more quiet financial system that runs seamlessly in the background. And that brings us to the first book on our list, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. In a world where we're constantly hit with digital notifications, shifting markets, and higher daily expenses, it's easy to feel like building wealth is this complex math problem. But the core concept of this book is that doing well with money is not a marker of intelligence. It's more about how you behave. And this is a soft skill that anybody can learn. Housel points out something very deep. Your personal experience drives 80% of how you think money works, but it actually represents a microscopic fraction of what's actually happening in the real world. So if you grew up in a household where money was always scarce or always a source of conflict, your brain naturally builds rules around protection and fear. If you grew up watching money get spent as fast as it came in, your rules are going to lean towards immediate gratification. We are all looking at the economy through a lens that was formed well before we earned our first paycheck. That's why trying to force yourself to stick to a budget rarely works if you didn't address the behavior behind it first. You're trying to use logic to fix an emotional problem. So here's an action step from this book. Sit down for just a few minutes and write down 3 unwritten money rules that you witnessed growing up when watching your parents or guardians manage money. Maybe it was hiding shopping bags so a partner wouldn't see them, arguing every time the utility bill arrived, or extreme hoarding because of a fear that everything would vanish. Once you write them down, look closely at your current habits and identify which of these money rules are you silently running today. Recognizing it is the first step to constantly choosing a new way of doing things, a new rule to live by that actually serves where you're at financially right now. The second book you should check out is Your Money, Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez. Right now, we're seeing a massive shift in how people view consumerism. There's a whole trend around finding dupes or alternatives for luxury goods. And people are realizing that flashing expensive items isn't necessarily a sign of wealth, just a sign of high spending. We're leaning away from status symbols and moving towards wanting purposeful, real experiences. And that's what this book teaches. The core lesson here is that money isn't just paper or numbers in an account. It takes time, focus, vitality in order to trade time at a job for you to get paid. When you spend money, you're not just spending dollars, you're spending that time and focus. You're spending pieces of your life. When you look at it that way, your relationship with spending changes. You stop asking, can I afford this? And you start asking, is this worth my time? Is this worth the time I spent to earn this money? To make this practical, your action step for this book is to calculate what the authors call your real hourly wage. This book asks you to look more into the hidden costs of that job. How much time you spend commuting, parking, your work clothes, convenience meal, extra coffee, lunch, just to get through the day. Then add in the hours that you spend getting ready for work or just decompressing after work because you're exhausted from work. When you subtract those expenses for your paycheck and divide it by your total work-related hours, your hourly wage looks a little different. So next time you buy a $300 item, don't think of it as just $300. Think about it by how much real time went into earning that $300. Then ask yourself, is this item worth the amount of time I spent to earn it? This simple shift will allow you to stop spending on things that don't matter, so you can save for the things that actually bring you joy and freedom. Let's look at our third book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Now, you might hear that title and think this book is filled with high-risk strategies or extreme lifestyle changes. But the fundamental message of this book is built around what Ramit calls the 85% solution. The idea here is that it's far better to get your financial strategy 85% right and take action immediately rather than waiting for the perfect 100% solution and doing absolutely nothing in the meantime. In a world where we're constantly overwhelmed by options and decision fatigue, trying to be perfect is a failing strategy. It leads to overthinking and procrastination. Ramit focuses heavily on a concept called conscious spending, which completely flips traditional budgeting advice on its head. Instead of feeling guilty for every single purchase, the goal is to choose one or two things that you absolutely love, whether it's traveling, high-end dining, or buying quality clothes, and spending extravagantly on them. But the catch is that you have to cut costs mercilessly on the things you don't care about. This removes the vague shame around spending because you made a conscious choice about what matters to you. Here's your action step from this book. You need to set up an automated system that protects your money from your own daily stress. When we rely entirely on willpower to manually move the money into savings or pay bills every single month, we're increasing our chance for failure, especially when life gets busy or overwhelming. So I want you to log into your bank account this week and set up some automatic transfers. The moment your paycheck hits, a specific percentage or dollar amount should automatically route directly to your savings and your investments before you got a chance to see it or spend it. Some of the savings will be your sinking funds, so that you can save for the things that you chose to spend extravagantly on. By automating this system, you remove the daily friction of making the right decision, allowing your wealth to build quietly in the background while you focus your energies elsewhere. The fourth book to check out is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, you might be wondering why a book about general habits is on a list specifically about money mindset. But the truth is that your financial life is simply a lagging measure of your daily habits. The amount of money in your savings account, the balance on your credit cards, your comfort level with investing. They're all a direct result of the tiny choices that you make every day. He introduces a perspective that completely changes how we approach change. He explains that true sustainable change isn't actually goal-based, it's identity-based. When most people try to fix their finances, they focus entirely on the goal. They say, I'm trying to save $10,000, or I'm trying to pay off my car. But when you focus only on the outcome, you're still operating from your old identity. The identity of someone who struggles with money, but is just trying to force themselves to do something different. He argues that you need to shift your focus to who you want to become. Instead of telling yourself, I'm trying to save money, you start telling yourself, I am a saver. Instead of saying, I need to learn about investing, you say, I am an investor. Every single transaction you make and every small financial decision you face is simply a vote you're casting for the type of person you want to be. When you shift your identity first, the behavior starts to follow naturally because you want to act in alignment with who you believe you are. So here's your action step for this book. We're going to use what he calls the 2-minute rule to build a gateway habit. When a habit feels massive, like reading an entire personal finance book or completely fixing your investment portfolio, and we avoid it. The 2-minute rule says, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. This week, I want you to scale your financial habits down to its simplest form. Instead of telling yourself you need to sit down for an hour to review your accounts, your new habit is to simply open your banking app once a day, look at the balance, and just close it. That takes less than 10 seconds. Instead of trying to read a whole chapter on investing, by mastering the art of just showing up, you validate your identity as someone who cares about their money, and that creates the momentum to do more later. Let's check out our last book, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. As women, we face real unique challenges when it comes to building wealth. Statistics show that women are 80% more likely to face poverty in retirement, and we carry a lot of historical and social conditioning that tells us to be small, to sacrifice, and to just be grateful for what we have. Because of that, when we try to fix our finances, we tend to focus entirely on micro-saving. We spend our energy trying to cut out morning coffee, agonizing over $5 at the grocery store, trying not to spend too much on makeup. But the core lesson of this book is that you cannot clip your way to financial freedom. You need to move past micro-saving and start making what Rachel calls million-dollar decisions. A million-dollar decision is a shift in where you direct your focus. It means you stop looking at your finances from a place of scarcity and start looking at them from a place of growth. Think back to the story of Madam C.J. Walker in the early 1900s. She was born on a plantation, orphaned at 7, and faced unimaginable systemic odds. Yet, she became America's first female self-made millionaire. She didn't do that by skimping on small expenses. She did it because she realized that wealth was an acquired skill, a way of thinking that she could master, and she focused her energy on expansion and building value. So here's your action step from this book. I want you to shift your spending focus From passive recurring expenses to stabilizing assets. Passive expenses are things that drain your money without giving you any real return in energy or growth. A stabilizing asset, on the other hand, is an investment in your own health, wellness, or professional growth. This week, look at your spending and find one area in which you can invest in yourself to buy back your time or protect your energy. This could be paying for a meal prep service, so you aren't trying to cook after an exhaustive long shift. Investing in a high quality certification, so you can earn more money. Or hiring a coach that helps you get unstuck. When you protect your well-being, you increase your capacity to earn and think more clearly. This is exactly how you step out of survival mode and into true wealth. When you step back and look at all these books, you start to see that true wealth isn't about trying to look rich or stressing over tiny details. It's about building a quiet automatic engine that runs in the background so you can buy back your time and finally feel relaxed. Using these books as a guide is a great way to rewrite those old internal money scripts that keep you stuck in financial stress. But even with these books on your shelf or in your Kindle or on your Audible app, you might still find yourself running into specific, stubborn mental hurdles that make you hesitate when it's time to invest or look at your accounts. To make sure those old money habits are not quietly draining your progress, you need to know what these hidden money blocks look like in your daily life. Click here to learn 3 common money mindset blocks holding women back, and let's fix them together. I'll see you there.